As Clément already pointed out, national monitoring, reporting, estimation is really driven by all kinds of needs. We have seen that countries' national forest monitoring system has really improved their capability in recent years. When we look at the use of remote sensing data, we see a large increase in the last 15 years, in particular in tropical countries, mostly for estimating forest area, and these kind of things. So countries are already using satellite data in an operational way to do their national forest reporting. What we've seen in this at the same time, that many countries actually have also started national forest inventory efforts throughout the tropics and other parts as well. And that is, of course, based on investments that were made from the international community in terms of supporting countries to do that, but also in terms of countries' own investments. And the question is, how can we also sustain and build upon these efforts in the future, also using biomass data? In particular, the point that we have an increasing availability of country national forest inventories is actually a good base for us Earth observation people to see how we combine the NFI, the National Forest Inventory data, and the biomass map data to really produce more up-to-date, more spatially explicit, and more accurate results. Because we know the field is evolving, we see a lot of things happening, data sets being produced, satellites being launched, and the investments in quality is really happening. And we do see the CCI biomass maps as an example of that. We've seen examples on how can we really track carbon losses locally, really over large areas, rapidly using Sentinel data. And we have also seen prototypes to go for spatially explicit mapping of forest carbon sinks and sources. So this is what's happening in the research domain, but how do you bring that to the country level? And the way it has often worked is that we can see biomass maps or biomass change maps are relevant for all different environmental and policy applications. There's a long list. What we're talking here mostly is, of course, the ones related to national greenhouse gas estimation and reporting. And in the recent update of the IPCC Good Practice Guidelines for agriculture, forestry, and other land use, which is the guidance framework that countries are using for estimation and reporting, there has been a new section on the use of biomass density maps. And there are several options on how that integration of biomass map data can be done. For example, it can be done to assess carbon stocks and emission factors, to increase data densities in areas that are undersampled or inaccessible, that to combine it with activity data, so area change data, forest area change data, for example, to produce wall-to-wall estimations, to do a direct estimation of biomass change, to use it for independent verification and comparison processes, and to provide additional spatial information to the greenhouse gas inventory, which is more maybe for policy purposes rather for reporting purposes. So that has been kind of given as generic guidance, but so far the concrete examples on how that can be done for all of these cases is relatively rare. I think we will start to see some of these things today, but in general there is a need to combine these opportunities coming from the space-based sector with the needs of the countries. There's quite an open door. Lots of countries are interested. We will hear that also as well, but we need to get to more concrete demonstrations. The GFOI methods and guidance document have further provided a bit more detail on how statistically one can integrate it, whether you can use the biomass map as an auxiliary data for increase the precision of the estimation, whether you can use it as reference data to directly estimate biomass or biomass mass change, or you go more deep estimate to really go to, let's say, more tier 3 models and provide more localized estimation. So then what is often very important is that country contexts are very different. And we know that from working with several countries that countries have different definitions of forest and biomass. They have different availability and reliability of field data. And what you see, the maps, you see how many NFI data points countries have reported to the Forest Resource Assessment, and also what's the date of the most recent NFI data point that they have reported. And you see there's quite a diversity. Not only that, but you also have a diversity of different designs. National forest inventories have different sampling designs, and all of that has to be taken into account. The same is true for uncertainty analysis. In fact, Also, here today, countries are very interested in improving their uncertainty analysis when it comes to emission factors, where I think also the integration will help. And what is often very important, countries need a bit of a long-term perspective to produce estimates that are comparable and consistent over time. And all of these things combined usually result in different options to integrate the data for specific country circumstances. And so with that, I'd like to come to my last slide, where I'd just like to summarize that global biomass monitoring is progressing in terms of sensors, in terms of products, in terms of the way these data are becoming available with increasing level of quality and detail in space and time. From the Earth observation perspective, what we need is user-oriented long-term data streams, including proper accuracy data. We have to really move to demonstrations and really take advantage of what we can provide with Earth observation data that are openly available, and provide analysis platforms that are easily enable the integration with countries. And on the country or the user side, I think it's clear that there needs to be a gap or a need that is clearly defined where the biomass map data can lead into. We have to have mechanisms to engage and actively participate, for example, through the GFOI, the Global Forest Observation Initiative, or bilateral programs or other partnerships that have worked. And what's important here, as always, is there's not only focus on technical credibility and providing the best estimates, but also to create ownership and saliency and legitimacy along that. So this need for partnerships among the global biomass mapping community and the countries are really key. And I think with countries being interested to improve their reporting and really move forward with forest-related climate change mitigation efforts, we have an open door here that we can use.